So let's move on to the questions. Don't be shy, I'm sure you're all waiting. And thanks to the podcast team for all the help tonight with the streaming. And one of my friends here is going to pass whoever wants to ask the first question.
Right. Well, thanks very much for your introduction.
Could you just say your name when you're speaking?
Okay, it's Andy. Right. I haven't bought my season ticket yet, but I'm going to do it the next couple of days, so that'll be another one. The question is, if you're aiming towards, mentioned 7th in the league, going by what we've just learnt about us being 17th, have we got the budget to what we think we've identified as a 7th position amount of money?
Thanks, Andy. Thanks. I'll hold you to buying your season ticket. Yeah, so factually, numbers don't look amazing if you want to go for top 7, but I feel if we can get our infrastructure right behind the scenes. Just waiting for Andy to. So yeah, we can get our infrastructure right behind the scenes, we can set out what we're going to do, and there's clear transparency in what we're doing and accountability in our processes, we can overachieve our budget. So our aim will always be to try and finish in that top 7 regardless of what our budget is, which I think is important. Yeah. So that's from me. I'm just going to.
We haven't got. Sorry. That answer was saying we haven't got a top. I'm not being, pushing you too much, but you haven't actually said that you've got a top 7 budget. What you just said is that you want to overachieve. So whereabouts between 7 and 17 do you think we might be? Just give me a rough idea.
So Andy, I think the board is meeting on Friday to finalise all the budgets for next year.
Okay.
So we're still optimistically going through every revenue line and looking at what kind of growth can be achieved. We're looking at all the cost bases to see how we can not spend quite so much in certain areas to get as much as we can into the playing budget. I very much doubt we'll have a top 7 playing budget next year, but I would hope. I mean, you just don't know what the clubs coming up and the clubs coming down are going to spend. And in January, Gillingham and Colchester, I think Gillingham had a takeover, Colchester had a makeover, and they both spent so much money which we didn't foresee. So we're trying to get the budget as high as possible, but I would really hope we're higher than 17th next season, but we won't be 7th. Highly unlikely.
17th in budget, but better in.
No, I would hope that we're going to be higher than 17th next season, but we won't have a top 7 budget.
And that's right, we haven't spent the sales money yet, have we? Or something.
Correct. Yeah. Can somebody put the hand up, say their name and ask a question, please? Hello. I'm quite happy to take the question that's been shouted, but can you do it?
Hello, Craig here.
Hello,
right,
Craig.
Let's get this out of the way. Sunday night. Right, Johnny, I understand with the team you've lost players, okay, and we appreciate that, right? But for me, where the players come in late to a drunk, people paid £90, right? One, I think the respect for you has gone if the players act like that. Secondly, why weren't the players dealt with, either asked to leave straight away or just told to shut up when you've got somebody who works on ITV on the stage, can't get heard through heckling. Our president is talking and they're still shouting and screaming. We had one of our volunteers that night working, doing raffle, trying to get the raffle money, right, to get some more money for our club. So he's not really a fan, so this was his takeaway from that. So when he left here on Sunday and he's asked about this would be his feedback on that event to his friends. The club organised a good do on Saturday and I was proud to be involved as part of Don's local match group. Thanks and well done to all the staff who pulled it off. Unfortunately, a significant number of the players there didn't show respect to the event arriving drunk and late, then proceeding to interrupt the formal proceedings by standing up, chatting between courses and not returning to their table when their awards were being presented. Seems to be a lack of leadership at the club, as no one appeared to intervene from management to regain order, and the MC really had to struggle to keep the event under control. I think those in attendance didn't see it as a big party event, given the season hasn't even finished. On the pitch, I think the boys were misguided or misinformed about how to behave. I'd have definitely been kids upset if I'd paid the best part of £100 to witness their oafish behaviour. Passing my thanks and congratulations to Danny Macklin, Mandy and the rest of the organisers for putting on the event, and thanks again for getting him involved. I think it's a bigger issue, the players there, that says a lot about what they think of the club, the fans, the manager, the management, and everybody up there really. I think it's disgraceful, because you deserve more than that. So that's as simple as that.
Yep, so thanks for that, Craig. Couldn't agree with you more, to be honest. We was all really disappointed and appalled actually in a lot of the behaviour. Sorry? Yeah, well, we have...
Give him a chance to answer.
Well, yeah, along those lines, Craig. So we was all upset with it. We recognised it wasn't right in any way, shape or form, and wasn't in line with the values of this football club. Certain people have been reprimanded today, and details, where we can, details of that will go out, but we are looking to make amends, certainly with some charitable work donations and try and make some good out of that in any way we can, and obviously address the whole squad and reminded them of their responsibilities away from the pitch, that they're still representing this football club, and the standards that they got to on Sunday night fell well short of what's expected of them. They recognise that themselves. They're very apologetic and are keen to sort of make up from it, but obviously we apologise for that, and we don't condone it in any way, shape or form.
I hope that tells you a lot of how some of them respected you more than anything else. So some of them you may class as friends or muckers and some stuff like that. When they treat you like that, mate, just ain't right. Whatever the season's brought, good or bad. A manager doesn't deserve to be treated like that when he's on a low anyway.
Yeah, Craig. There's been a lot of lessons learned. Sunday was another one, but obviously over the past sort of few weeks and months, there's been a lot of lessons learned about a lot of different aspects and individuals, and obviously we've got big decisions to make on a lot of issues and individuals this summer, and obviously we'll be working hard on that.
Yeah, Craig, I think he's spot on. I sat there the other night, I didn't like what I saw. I saw what happened this morning. I can't get into details about what's going to happen. Also, I think Johnny's touched on it and put it to bed. He addressed it this morning. So, when I say to you, we want to put a team out there that's representative of you guys and what you guys can be reflective of, that wasn't it. So, the summer's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, and we're going to try and right some of the wrongs that have happened this season. I can sit here now and say it's going to be a ruthless summer, but we need to act professionally with it. Obviously we're all working at the football club, we all care what happens at this football club because it affects our livelihoods, but without going into too much detail or too much emotion right now, I hope we sit here in the next forum after the summer or whenever we are and we all talk talking about the actions that have followed. We're all talking at the moment. I'm talking about what I'm planning on doing, and I hope the actions are going to back that up, what we're going to do for the next forum.
Right then, anyone next? Yeah, this guy over there.
Oh, sorry. There's another one over there.
Oh, yeah, go on.
Good evening.
Over there.
Good evening, panel. Question for Johnny. Johnny, we've got to remember you're still a young manager, but have you learned a lot from this season? I mean, most managers, long before you, have gone through bad spells. You know, okay, we dropped like a stone from January, but Steve Evans last year, they were fourth last year and got promoted. So do you feel you have the tools and the energy and the drive to get us out of this rut? And if so, how do you plan to do it, to make yourself a better manager?
Well, yeah, obviously I have to learn the lessons, you know. Like I said in my little speech, you know, the hurt and suffering that we suffered, myself included, can't be for anything. And I've learned a lot, you know, about myself in the tougher moments, how you deal with it. I've learned a lot about my players, the squad, the league, what it requires, and a lot of the opposition that we come up against, about them too. So what I do know is it's a real big summer for us. I think recruitment is the most crucial part of any makeup of squad, and we didn't get that quite right this summer or in January for various different reasons, but like I said, we are in a much better position now, and obviously we need to sort out you know, I can't be sat here in 3 months' time saying that we've got loads of injuries again. I understand that, so we have to, you know, we have to meet that head on and, you know, do a deep dive into it and ask the reasons why, and put things in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. And some of that's down to recruitment, and some of that's more about how we can, you know, we can deal with the injuries, or obviously we have to try and get less. We had obviously 57% player availability since the turn of the year, which is going to make life difficult for anyone. So, but what we can't do is be sat here in 2-3 months' time and talking about the same things. We have to put the things in place now that, okay, that happened, why did it happen? Let's put a structure in place to make sure that never happens again. So those are the lessons that I have learned. And obviously now that's on me and Craig and everyone up here to put that in place so that it doesn't happen again. If it does happen again, then obviously that, you know, we've done something wrong there.
Hi there, Vicky. I'm just speaking on behalf of my dad, because obviously he's not here to be able to ask a question. Johnny, my dad was a volunteer for over 50 years and dedicated his life to the club. He was very passionate and he was very, very loud. And I think my ears are still ringing, but I'm sure everybody that used to sit near him knows exactly what I'm talking about. One of the things that I would ask, if you're staying, is that could we please have it that you look like you're slightly more interested on the pitch during games rather than just that your hands are in your pockets, you don't look like you care at all, which is obviously difficult because I understand people show their emotions completely differently. I was actually staying in the same hotel as you at Harrogate, and I was spending a lot of time talking to Robin Bazo, who I absolutely love, by the way, and I'm glad they're still here. And you didn't even acknowledge that we existed. We had players that had their feet on tables, had feet on chairs in the tracksuit. They moved all the furniture around. They just were behaving like big-time Charlies, and quite frankly, it's embarrassing. So all I'm asking is if you're staying, can we please have a different approach on the touchline from yourself, and can we have a different approach from the players, just so that we're not embarrassed?
So, I'll just address that quickly. So thank you very much for the question. In terms of the players, the culture, and I think I've addressed that, and I think the summer's going to be pretty telling, and we hope for better behaviour from our players in future. In terms of not just Johnny's demeanour, people's demeanour, I think people act different ways, but in terms of hurting and caring, walking into that manager's office after the games, after the Salford game, after the phone calls we had after the Harrogate game, after the Barrow game, we took the kids up and they did well. They did proud of the kids at that point. There isn't anyone that wears it more than Johnny. He takes responsibility, which a lot of managers don't. He cares. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I take that on board. Obviously, you have a certain demeanour on the touchline. Happy to have that constructive criticism and take it on board. But what I would say is I'm completely invested in this job and in this football club. And whether you believe that or not, I can assure you, on a Saturday night after a defeat, I don't think there's a single person in this room that feels worse than what I do. You might want to have a chat to my wife, and she can probably confirm that. But I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about the opportunity that I've been given here, and very grateful for it. And succeeding and giving you guys what you deserve means everything to me. So whether whether that's portrayed on the touchline or not, in your opinion, I take it home with me. I work hard and I try and improve for the next time, and I care deeply about it. So I hope you believe that. Hope that helps. And apologies for not acknowledging you. Obviously, come and say I don't think I'm a rude person. I would happily had a chat with you, but I apologise for that, Harrogate.
Johnny, Nick is my name, and my question is, you spoke a little bit about lessons being learned and things that have happened this season that have informed you going forward. I'm just curious, I want to get on board and believe in you, I want to do that. In terms of the way you've done things this season, can you give me a couple of examples of things that, maybe mistakes, but aside from the injuries or the recruitment and stuff, mistakes that you feel you might have made that possibly going forward, couple of those if I had my time again moments this season where you think, you know what, I might have got that wrong, I wish I'd done something a bit different there. Can you think of any examples of that?
I'm just going to hand over to Johnny now, but it's the last question before we have the little break, and then there will be questions after that.
Yeah, I think the most obvious. Thanks for the question, Nick. I think the most obvious answer to that is with the style of play that we was trying to implement at the start of the season. I had a clear idea about wanting to play through the thirds and thought we could make that a success at League Two, and the ingredients weren't quite there. I didn't get all of that right myself. Perhaps some of the stuff I was asking of certain players wasn't correct, and I think if I'd have carried on down that road, I certainly probably wouldn't be sat here now. So for me, recognising that wasn't working, and recognising that there's obviously this is a unique football club with a certain appetite of a way of playing football, and I needed to feed into that, and also it was absolutely the right thing to do at that stage, because what was going before wasn't working, and I really felt like in that middle period there, from when we did change up our style, going right through to sort of the turn of the year, we looked strong. We had a really good team, and it was very, very difficult to beat. And I sat in similar forums where we was speaking about that was a Wimbledon that you guys recognised and that could get behind. That's the team that I know that I can deliver, because it was there. It was there. All the things were in place, and that got taken away from us for certain reasons. But in that period, I would think that he was enjoying watching the team, and it was a team that you could get behind. So I learned a lot of lessons about that period, that opening period, that I won't be doing again next time round. And obviously I've learned a lot about, I think, the physical makeup of the division. I look at the best teams and the profile physically of their teams, and I think that's something that we lacked at times, and something that I'd obviously really want to address in the summer. And obviously you said more about the on-field stuff, but obviously how we structure loans, how we structure our loans, and how we dip into the loan market going forward to make sure that the things that happened to us in January, that was out of our control, unfortunately, but that's the nature sometimes of loan deals. But can we try and mitigate those situations so that we don't lose key players to our team? So if that means that we will have to use the loan market because of where we're at, but can we use it in a way where if that sort of stuff was to happen again, that it doesn't have such a detrimental impact on our starting 11? And it's not going to basically rip the heart out of our team when we're having major success, because often with the loans it is out of your hands, and it is you are at the mercy of the parent club, unfortunately.
I was just going to stop there for a 10-minute break, and then we'll be all question and answers after that. Thank you.
I could stay down now.
Right, so we're going to start off the second half.
Finish it on the positive, so we've got the
Water.
when you get back.
Right, over to Peter Miller, because he was last one to ask before the intro.
Thank you. Very quickly, in 1957 I watched my first Wimbledon game as a 17-year-old trainee reporter on the Wimbledon News. I've followed the club ever since. So I've been through the highs and lows of this club, and one of those highs is Andy sitting next to me here, and there have been other highs like us getting back into the league, but I think the highest of all was getting this stadium. Our success isn't just down to what happens on the pitch. I want to talk a bit about what happens off it, because I think Johnny's been given quite a hard time so far this evening. If we, and this is a communications aspect to the club, if the supporters knew what Johnny and the players and the budget has burdened them with, we might be more appreciative of what they've achieved on it. And I'd like you to bear that in mind for next season, when clubs like Wrexham will be having budgets of about 5 million, and Gillingham, bought by some Americans, will have doubled their budget to about 4 million, and we'll still be chasing half of that. But to take a bit of pressure off Johnny for a moment, there's another organisation here that cares passionately about the club that very few hasn't had much of a mention, and that's the Dons Trust. And I'd just be curious to know how many people here are members of the Dons Trust, because if you're not, you should be. I went to a meeting of the Dons Trust on Sunday, and there was a lot of focus, almost the entire meeting was about the prospects of reducing the fans' ownership of this club from 75% down to possibly people have referred to 50 plus 1, but reducing it. And one of the reasons for doing that is to try and raise some more money, because people, I don't think, realise that had we lost to Walsall and Hartlepool won again, we might well find ourselves at the moment looking at relegation. And that relegation could have resulted in us not being able to afford to run this stadium. So the big issue, I believe, in the coming weeks, months, is not going to just be about what happens on the pitch, it's going to be happening what's off it. And people need to look realistically, especially people who are members of the Dons Trust, about finding the compromise between raising some more money and still retaining fans' ownership. Now, the question of raising more money shouldn't just come down to Johnny and what he can do on the transfer market. It needs to come down to the PLC board and what they're doing to raise some more money for this club. And there are a couple of issues one could touch on there. For example, how much is the club likely to earn from the education hub that we've invested a lot of money in advance? Why have we spent a year not signing up a local man who has offered to invest 1.8 million? And what are you prepared, I say probably Nick here, to tell us about the London Irish approach to this club, which on a club website a week ago, referred to London Irish, not naming them as a rugby club, wanting to utilise, what does utilise mean? Our facilities. Now, I appreciate you can't go into real confidential details about what's being talked about to London Irish, but to just put up on the website that there have been no serious discussions, then what have you been talking to them about for the last 4 months?
On Sunday. He told you on Sunday.
So,
why are you asking the same question?
Can we please, in fairness to Johnny here, hear from Nick and from possibly Danny what their side of the club are doing to raise money for this club. And I stress again the importance of the Dons Trust here and people back in the Dons Trust.
Thank you for your question, Peter. I'll get to the bit about the education and the rugby team that you mentioned in a moment, but there are many strands that we've got to do to raise revenues at this club. We're moving in the right direction in many of those. The facility that you're in now, earlier on today and the rest of this week, is hosting for a monumentally sized brand that's filming a television advert here. A year ago we wouldn't have been able to take that booking, we certainly wouldn't have been able to service it, so that's just one example that we're using to monetise the Cherry Red Record Stadium. We want to make sure that we're not leaving a stone unturned. The third floor above us at the moment is, it's being used as a film studio, but 9 times out of 10 that's just a concrete jungle. That is where we need some investment in order to fully take our education offering to the next level. We have now built partnerships with a number of educational groups, so to speak, for want of a better phrase, colleges and universities and other entities, for which I had a call with each and every one of them today as part of a sort of monthly catch-up with them. Our head of education runs that department, and we're moving that forward at some pace. That does take time to build. I did the same at Lake Norwich, that took 2 years to build. We're probably 14 months into that programme, but we strongly believe that can provide a revenue and a profit contribution that doesn't conflict with any other area and complements the usage of the stadium for midweek daytime usage. In terms of the question you asked regarding the rugby team, we put that statement out, not deliberately timed on that Saturday evening after a game, but because an article had been released in a tabloid newspaper. We therefore decided to put a short factual statement out. And we had many discussions with a number of different sports clubs. We remain in a working partnership with London Broncos, who I also met today. And we're in agreement with those guys to play a number of games here at the stadium. We have been approached probably by 15 to 20 different sporting entities over the past 6 months that I've been here. And Bal and Ivor and the rest of the team have worked tirelessly to bring those to fruition. We've obviously proudly Scotland, Australia women's game here. We proudly hosted Ukraine, and we've got a number of events that we're going to be announcing. Some will be behind the scenes, and some will be very much public to help monetise the stadium, move it forward, because we've got a sleeping giant here. We've just got to wake it, and we can raise the revenues, put more money into the coffers, pay our debt back, become sustainable by putting all of those ingredients together. They won't come overnight, but they will and are coming steadily on.
Right, next up, chap over there. Chap by the bar. Chap by the bar.
My name's Mike. Johnny, a question for you, because I've been told this happened. Did you apply for the Oxford job?
I think he means United, not City.
No, I didn't apply for it. To be honest, I was as shocked as you to see my name linked with that. I don't know where it come from, but I didn't apply, no.
And did you have your transfer budget withdrawn late on in January from what you was expecting?
No. Did we have our transfer budget withdrawn?
What you was expecting to get in January to spend, did it get reduced?
Well, our budget was always the same. Obviously, we lost players that we didn't expect to lose. So consequently, the money that we did have to spend, we had to spread thinner, if you like. But we actually received extra investment from the board in January, but it meant that we had to cover more positions because of the outgoings that we didn't foresee coming. 12% increase.
Evening, guys. Name's Richard. You sort of implied that Sunday was a turning point in terms of these players being reprimanded, big summer ahead, everything. Was it really Sunday that was the turning point? Because these players have been doing the football equivalent that on the pitch for the last 2 years. So was Sunday the point where you thought, oh, some of these have got to go, or has it been built up over time that something's got to change here?
No, thanks, Richard. Sunday definitely wasn't the turning point. We've been having discussions ever since I've come in, and it's natural for any football club to look towards the summer and outgoings, incomings. So we've been discussing since I've come in. So no, Sunday wasn't the turning point, but it didn't help.
Just another one, probably to bring some positivity in the room. There's one person who's not been addressed today who probably has delivered more than anyone over the past 2 seasons. That's Michael, for the work the Academy has done.
I think on that note, it'd be nice for Michael to say a few words, because obviously one of the real positive points of this club in the last few years, now been here a long time, is the fantastic batch of young players coming through, and a nice bit from Michael at this stage would be appreciated.
Yeah, it's good to see some of my family members in the crowd, so thank you. The accumulation of good work that happens behind the scenes is, why we're able to produce what we have produced, and that goes to Rob Tuvey at the back, who's played a massive part in our progression over the last few years. You've got Peter, who plays a massive part in the development of the goalkeepers that he's produced for you, so. I know there's been a lot of frustration, but there has been 7 debuts this season in the league, and it doesn't happen without a manager that wants to play young players as well. So it's a club, something that we should be proud of, and it's not just one person. There's a group of us, and it's a collective unit that works together to make this happen.
Well said, Michael, and over to Jeff Steele. Oh, then? Okay, you then, Jeff.
Hi, it's Gary here, still umming and ahhing over the season ticket. So my question to Craig is really about the process of kind of selling the club to new players over the summer, whether it be permanent signing or on-loan signings. How's that process going to change? Is it going to be the same? Is it still Wimbledon with its unique selling point, or what?
Yes, I was actually asked this question by Charlie, who I've met for the first time since my interview tonight, in an interview like, what? I want to be honest, and I said at the time, it's getting harder because players tend to try and follow the money, if that's £50 a week more, or £100 a week more, or however much it is. The sales point of this football club is what we're all sat in now, is the exposure we can give, is you guys, is what we can offer them. So we're going to be, rather than targeting any player, we're going to be targeting players that we feel will fit our style of football. So when we're having a conversation with them, we can go, look, we're going to play to your strengths here because of X, Y, Z. So that's number one. The manager is a big attraction for players. He's got a lot of contacts, and especially around the southeast down here, aren't we? Yeah, southeast. So a lot of players know him. A lot of players call me up and go, "Oh, I know your manager. I know him. I know Terry. I know Baza. I know Rob." So there's a big thing. The actual story and what they can represent by coming here, and I've said this to a lot of people. This club, rightly or wrongly at times, immortalises people. So you've had players that have played 4 or 5 games for you, and you guys, I'll have either telling me about him or I'll have someone else telling me about him. That's a rarity that most of the clubs haven't got. So there are loads of different ways we can sell to players, and my latest technique and tactic has been, we've got the nicest stadium in League 2 in London, and we have 15 scouts come and sit in our posh seats every week, so you're going to get seen by scouts every week. I'm hoping that's going to work. But yeah, no, there are loads of ways in which this club can attract players. Location's obviously one. You're in London, you're in a nice part of London, and everything I've mentioned before, manager, club, fan base, history, stature, stadium. The one thing that I had on a previous club that I haven't got here at the moment is the impressive training facilities. We've got a really good base, but needs a lot of work on it, and I've been working with a few of you guys. I'm meeting a few more tomorrow how we can do that. Once we get that up and running, I think we can be really proactive in our recruitment and get those players in early with an all-rounded base.
Jeff, when our youth team went up to Newcastle a few years ago, they did 2 things. They won the game, and afterwards they asked for a broom so that they could make sure that the dressing room was clean. Might one suggest both of those would be a good idea for the first team at Grimsby on Monday?
Next question, please.
Hi, Alex. Johnny, are you too soft on these bunch of players? And when you look to be stronger next year with them, Craig, where do you think this current group of players will finish in the league below? Because I don't think they'll finish in the top 10 or 12 in the league below. And Mr. Buckley and Danny, it starts and ends on the pitch. Like, you can put a new sound system in this beautiful stadium and all that, but in about 9 to 12 months, genuinely, if we don't back Johnny, and I do think I'm all for backing Johnny, I'm looking at player budget, it starts and ends on the pitch, and I want to hear that we either get behind Johnny, because I think we have to improve this squad. I don't think marginal gains is going to do it, because if marginal gains are going to finish second bottom next year, and I think that's going to work for anyone. And I'm genuinely here because I'm worried about this process because we'll come August, and the 1st of August, whatever it is, the 6th of August, this first team has to change quite considerably for us to even have a chance of getting the top 10. And I think it's really, I'm looking to you guys as the boys that can do it, but I want to hear it. I want to hear both some of those questions answered. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I'll go first. Obviously, I've got a certain management style, and I have good relationships with my players. I think you're right in certain instances. There'll be lessons that I could have learnt where maybe I'd approach things differently with them, and that might be being a bit harder in certain situations. But obviously, all different situations are different. All players are different. Certain players, need to be dealt with in a different manner, different process than another one, just because they're all, you're dealing with sort of 23, 24 individuals that have got different character traits. But yeah, there's certainly, on my part, there'll be lesson learned for sort of generic situations that perhaps could be dealt with better.
In terms of the question you asked me, obviously I know the league below very well. It is an incredibly tough league, but it's all, no respect, it's all a bit hypothetical. Hypothetical in terms of we're not in that league. Hypothetical, this squad of players is going to change, and I want to look forward to what our squad of players we're going to build over the summer is going to achieve in this league. So I'm not trying to sit on the fence with your question. I just think let's look forward, let's get a squad of players out here and let's try and overachieve what we can and try and get as high up the table as we can next season.
I think the third part of your question was about not spending money on this room but getting as much as we can into the playing budget. Yes. Is that right? Yeah, thanks, Hoax. I think it's a really good point. We need to get as much money as we can into the playing budget. We also need to get these facilities to a state whereby we can raise lots of money for the future. So Danny and his team are building a business plan where we will grow our revenues quite significantly by utilising these facilities. Sorry for the utilising word again. So the money that we have for this room is from a separate part of capital expenditure money, so it doesn't impact the playing budget. So I hope that helps. Danny, do you want to?
And in addition, we received a lump sum to put the work in to apply for it from the EFL for various CapEx projects that includes this room and also the training ground kitchen refurbishments. We have to take a short, medium and long-term view. The booking we've got for today and for this week, that doesn't go in the budget in 2 years' time. It helps the budget for the season we're just about to kickstart planning and progressing.
I suppose the obvious thing to say as well is that the fact that we are selling the season tickets so quickly is really, really helpful for when we're setting the budget for next year, because that kind of gives everyone the reassurance and confidence which allows us to underpin the playing budget number. So, actually I haven't done mine yet, I'm doing mine tomorrow, but if everyone can do that as soon, if you're intending to do it quickly is a really helpful thing in terms of planning what the budget will be for next year.
And if you don't renew, you end up getting a phone call from me or one of the staff, so that's another incentive.
Hello, my name's Roy. Do you think there's anything we can learn from Sutton United from this season? Given their rise from the conference, I think we'd all be very happy if we'd settled for their league position rather than ours. And yet they came newly into this league. I don't think their player budget was any better than ours, but as a probably less than sophisticated setup than what we've now got. Where did they get it right that we didn't?
Really good question, actually. So I've been a long-standing admirer of Sutton and what they've done. Obviously, back up in the Midlands, watching them come and win the league, where we had a bigger budget than them and they overtook us and they ended up winning the league. So long-standing admirer of Sutton. I feel where they got it right and where we're trying to work towards is they got the foundations right, they got their recruitment absolutely spot on, they nailed down, they knew their limitations, they knew how they wanted to play and everyone ran with it. They got players in that could deploy a style of play, a game plan, and everyone ran with it. That club, I don't know it as well as now, but that club was united. They're all on a mission. I know a couple of the players there, close friends of mine, and they've all said the same thing. It was a unity. The foundations were there, and it's something that, as I said in my opening gambit, was we're trying to set those foundations now that we can do that, not just as Sutton, but like most other clubs have done, who have been successful over the past 4 or 5 years in lower divisions.
Do you think there's a fair chance we could finish above Sutton next season, with what you're talking about?
I hope so. We want to be the top club in London in League Two. So yeah, that's obviously one of the aims. Not looking at Sutton specifically, we're looking at league position. So, but no, Roy, thank you very much for that question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Oliver. We've now dropped, I think it's 79 points in the past 2 seasons from winning positions. It seems like mediocrity on the pitch has kind of become acceptable, and it seems there's also a bit of an institutional problem with game management. What are we going to do to sort that out? Are we hiring sports psychologists, or what are we doing on the pitch to sort that out?
So yeah, great question. Obviously, it's not even the elephant in the room. It's so apparent that everyone's aware of it. The number one thing we're going to do to change it is recruitment. Is the leaders we bring in, the squad depth, which has let us down at times. The processes and bits we put in behind the scenes to help prepare teams better for games. Those situations, it's stuff we're working on. The coaching team are working on every single day, but the decisions are coming down to a lot of reasons, and there's a lot of reasons why those goals are being conceded, which I think Johnny's going to go through now, but we are working behind the scenes with structure, the organisation, the process we put in place to make sure we're seeing games out, and the recruitment is key to that.
Yeah, just carrying on from Craig really. Obviously, you spoke about it being institutional and going back a while, but obviously I don't want to talk about what happened last year. I address the issues that have happened this year. Sorry?
We've got more points this season from winning positions than last season.
Yeah. So I'm coming to that. So for me, the biggest problem has been obviously the lack of depth in our squad. So for me, too often this season, we've been finishing games weaker than what we started them. That being, the makeup of our bench and the squad that we built. We obviously was leaning on inexperienced players very often, and pressure moments, I think, told in those instances. We've had a lot of injuries, which in turn affects the depth of the squad. And we've had a lot of injuries in games that I think have directly affected outcomes of games too. I think we've been unlucky with that. I think back, maybe correct me if I get some of these wrong, but I think Pierce going off here against Hartlepool was a big moment in that game. I think Pierre going off in the Salford game was a big moment. Look back up, just recently Armani Little going off early in the Stevenage game, so there have been big moments where we've lost key players, and not only lost them, but lost them for long periods of time, which made it more difficult. So that would be the obvious thing to turn to, but obviously to address that again, it's getting recruitment right, it's making sure that you can make changes from the bench that are, going to make you stronger in game. We have to be better at game management situations as well, of course, but you want to get to a position where you've built a squad so that when one lad isn't performing up to it, you turn around and you're sending on someone who you feel is more than capable, or even more capable of doing the job and seeing the game through than the guys out there. And too often this season we haven't had that luxury.
Yeah, who's next? My colleague's just up there for these reference. Yeah, go for it.
Right, it's Charlie. So this is a question from Mick Buckley. So doing the number crunching, we've established that loan players, we've established that getting free transfers, that's not sustainable. That hasn't worked, and we're not going to progress as a football club if we carry on doing that. I realise we've got the stadium debt. You mentioned £10 million. I know you said that not all the money is going into paying off the debt, but clearly a sizable amount of it is. Danny, I know that you're saying that you're trying to improve the stadium, you're trying to get the third floor up and running. Obviously that's going to take time. With all this in mind, as fans, well, just for me really as well, just to manage our expectations, do you have a season, do you have a time date in mind as to when we're actually going to start pushing for promotion? Just because I think there's a massive disconnect between us, you and the fans. So because we've moved into this massive stadium, everyone now thinks that we're going to start pushing for promotion, we're going to start getting all these players in. Clearly that's not happening. So just to get a bit of sanity back in the room, do you actually have a season in mind when we're actually going to be able to push for promotion, just so that we can start managing our expectations? We're not going to get Ronnie Jackson's back every week, even though I agree, I'm sorry, that you could do more from the touchline, but that's a sideline. So yeah, do you have a date in mind?
So Charlie, that's a slightly different question than the one you asked me in the gents about 2 minutes ago, which I was
But to be fair though, I think it's a valid question, because a lot of us, we all come here, we all have these grand ideas in our heads, and actually it's complete nonsense. So you seem to be a sensible guy, you seem to know your stuff when it comes to the numbers. Can you give us some actual answers?
Yeah, so I think what I've already said is that we want to grow our playing budget for next season. We want to try and ensure that relative to other clubs, we're higher up the league. And to be honest, as a Wimbledon fan, I've grown up over many years. I never really knew what our playing budget was or where it was in the league till recent times. So
that's because they substandard.
Yeah, let me keep going. So, if you look at the last 10 years, I think there'd been 33 different clubs been relegated from League One, 19 have made it back, 1 in 4 made it back in the first year. On average it takes 3 years, it takes some clubs longer. I would want to go into next year thinking that we're really going to try and have a go with the money we've got to get as high up the table as we can. When the board meets this week, we'll agree the final number and we'll agree some targets for the management team. So I hope that helps. In terms of the debt, why are we here? We're here to come and support our local football club, right? If you kind of strip this whole thing back to why we are all in this room so bloody passionate about this thing, we're coming to support our football club, and we want to do as well as we can, but the reality is we also need to sort of keep the company solvent, and it is a balance, because I'm a fan, I'd rather spend all the money we got, give Johnny everyone he wants, and you'll be singing Super Johnny Jackson in your sleep if it is that. But the reality is we have to balance things. We'll get as much money as we can into the budget. We may have other events, we sold Uber Sal for a bit more money than we were expecting. We were planning to sell it this summer. We got a bit more than we were expecting to get, so that's good. So some of that money will go into next season's playing budget. I woke up the other night dreaming Jack Redone had gone to Real Madrid, and my wife had to calm me down, but that would be a tremendously helpful thing if that ever happens. So we do have ongoing participation. So it's a very fancy way of saying we benefit if players who've left here already go on and go to bigger clubs. So there are lots of good things that can happen financially. We want to get as much as we can into the playing budget, but we also need to take the debt seriously, not least because a lot of the people in this room lend the club money. So we've got to take the debt seriously and balance things.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is, I don't know when it comes to a season when we can actually realistically be pushing for promotion.
I really don't know which season we're going to get promoted in, but I'm
not saying get promoted, I'm saying when are we actually going to have a season where we can actually come away and not just be losing every game, not just be, basically hanging on by the... Yeah,
I think I've answered it. Hopefully hopefully next season, Charlie, we're all going to enjoy our football a lot more when we've sorted out the training ground, we've figured out how to keep our players on the pitch, and we've recruited a better balance of squad in terms of age profile, number of senior professionals. We have loaned players with a bit more assurance, if it's possible to achieve, that we are going to keep them through January. So there's lots of things that we've learned from this year, and if we can implement those, I hope we'll all have a better time next year. Thank you.
Hi, Peter Godfrey. Jonesy's told me to be quick, not swear, and only ask one question. It's not to Johnny, because I've been here at the kit sponsors dinner, so I'll leave him alone tonight. Craig, a lot of pressure on you, I feel. You said earlier, we're going to try and sign the right sort of player. Now, could you expand on that? Because we all have an opinion on the right sort of player. I don't want to hear the usual pitter-patter about, good attitude, right sort of character, strength, this, that, the other. Can we get a goalkeeper who can kick the ball high and wide? Can we get a centre-half that's above 6'5"? Can we get a midfield?
Can you start again, please?
Nick, I'm on a 6 months notice, but I'll do it. A midfield player that will run, track back and doesn't look injured, and a centre forward that can time his jumps to head a ball properly. Not much to ask. We don't have to ask.
Yes, we're going to go for lads with the right attitude. We're going to go for lads that... Thorny, do you want to... We've not heard from you yet. We've had some good chats, haven't we? Come on. I'm hoping we're as aligned as we think we are.
That's a big Brian White as well. I think the important thing as well, when we talk about recruitment and what have you, is connecting with other clubs around. Because we're a force now as a football club in this league, and to make connections with bigger Premier League clubs who have better players, who you can go to and ask to loan players rather than possibly out of the same league as yourself. I think sometimes the budget doesn't really come into it, because they'll do you a favour as long as their players are playing. If you're getting a better player for the same money, then you go down that route. And we've been 2 months now where we've been flat out, and I think you will be surprised in the summer. And I wouldn't say if I didn't think it was going to be, because it's been quite ruthless, and going from a team that's a club that's been put together on a park where people come and have trials. All of a sudden there comes a time when you're now in a lovely new stadium, we are. There comes a time when you've got to be ruthless, and that time's come. So when you say we need this and we need that, we're fully aware of that. But if you pay, I don't know, 500 quid a week to a certain type of player, but you can get a better player for the same money, then you connect with them clubs, and we need to do that to offset what our budget is, in my opinion.
Cheers, Tony. Appreciate that. So you touched on a couple of attributes there that you mentioned you want to see in your team next year, and that's what we're all trying to strive for. We want strong athletes, we want players that are good on the ball, put the ball in the right areas, we want people that are going to come off that pitch, not limping injury-wise, but looking like they've left everything out there. That's the profile we want, and as corny as it is, it does come down to attitude, and it does come down to character, because what they leave out on there when we've got mobile forwards that run themselves into the ground, that get into good areas, that these guys can coach with Terry and the guys back there. That's what we're looking for next season.
Chap over here.
Sorry, I just want to come back on the late conceded goals and on the conceded leads and things. And Johnny, while I appreciate that we've had injuries, I mean, no one would dispute that. You've been dealt a terrible hand. And in games where you've been in front, often we've had to take players off at probably the worst time we could have and stuff. But I think when I've talked to you before about things that we've learned this season, if we're going to tell ourselves that we've conceded as many late goals and as many points as we have, and it's down to injuries or down to the budget or down to recruitment, I think we're allowing a narrative to conceal reality. I mean, against Salford, for example, with 2-1 up into injury time, we saved a penalty. Now, surely that probably got him, the goalkeeper, tell him to kick it over the dugout into the stands. We then make 2 substitutions, the game's over. Well, that's not injuries or budget or anything else. And the game management from you did concede there some game management issues, but right the way through that's not the way you defend the league, is it? When we played away at, I was thinking more of the Stevenage game when we played there, and we're 2-1 down and we kind of press in for an equaliser, and their guy starts a little sort of fight, tussle on the touchline. It's good play, because it ends up in a melee and it goes 3 or 4 minutes and stuff, and they end up running the clock down and getting the win. We've singularly failed to do that on any occasion this season, really. We haven't caught anybody on the break either when they've been pushing at us when we're 1-0 up. Possible exception, you could say Orient, but we scored sort of 20-25 minutes ago. We haven't caught anybody on the break either. It's not just injuries and recruitment, is it? Am I missing something?
No, obviously there's in-game stuff that we can do, but we have caught people on the break. We went clean through at Harrogate with pretty much the last kick of the game and missed a gilt-edged chance, should we say. So we had a plan where we wanted to soak it up, but also have a counter-attack, and if you can obviously get that next goal, that second or third goal cushion, that's going to make it easier. So we always still want to try to attack. I think there's certain things that we could have done a lot better on the pitch, you're right. I think looking at that Salford one, I think there was so much emotion on the pitch, and the sound when Bruno makes that save, that it overcome us, and we made some bad decisions. So instead of slowing the game down and putting the ball, I think the tension and the emotion of the moment made us rush, perhaps. Those are things that we speak about. Those are things we actually have been doing a lot of scenario work on the training pitch to put in place certain strategies that when we are in the lead and the clock is ticking down, what can we do? A certain type of player definitely helps with that. Having experienced guys, having people that have certainly one of the things that we'll look at when we're recruiting is people, players that have had success at the level as well and know what winning looks like. Unfortunately, at the minute with the makeup of our squad, there's some inexperience and perhaps not enough of the lads know what winning looks like at the minute, and that will be one of the key components of our recruitment strategy. Peter asked, what does that look like? Well, that is one of those things where you look at guys that have had promotions at the level, and they've been part of winning teams and winning changing rooms, and they know what it takes to get over the line in certain games. And I think our squad, the makeup of our squad, has backed that. Obviously, as coaches, as a team, we need to put on perhaps more of that scenario training, and that's something that we'll implement in pre-season. You're probably guilty of not addressing it until it's happening, but maybe that's something that we can learn and get in front of it before it happens next time, because sure as hell we're going to be 2-0 up, hopefully, on the opening day of next season, and obviously we don't want to be put in that position again. Where we're throwing away these points. We want to be a team that goes and puts the opposition to a sword. Is that by attacking, or is that by being cute about how you go and save the game? And some of that can be coached on the training pitch, some of that's psychological, and some of that's obviously the makeup of your team and your squad.
Sorry, just a couple more questions to go. I think there's one at the back first.
Hello, it's me again. On the pitch, Johnny, there's certain things that you can't have control over, but this is a fans-owned club. The distance between the players at the minute and the fans, in my eyes, is enormous. Okay? We have a man-of-the-match competition in a, sorry, this would be for the staff, not just yourself, John, as well, in a tunnel at about 5:30. That should be once, just once, not twice, and that should be up here. When the players leave, they walk out the car park, towards their car park. If the kids got to get autographs and photos, they've got to hand things through like a railing, like you're in prison. When we was at Kings Meadow, the players always mingled with the supporters. The kids had photographs with the players. This year, Mark Hughes and Glyn Hodges went down to the Phoenix. I don't know if yourself or Terry have been in there. You won't get lynched. I guarantee you now, you can lose 10 games on the trot, you wouldn't get lynched. You get more admiration for coming down and joining the fans than winning 20 games and just not being with them at all. Something like this we can fix. So can we have something next season, because obviously this is going to be the last time that we're going to talk about this and not let it run. Can we have something where the fans, I know they're allowed up here, but can the players be instructed or asked just to get a bit closer to the fans again, because it's just slipping away in my eyes.
Totally agree with you again, Craig. Absolutely something that we want to engage in, that we want to improve. I think there's some things that we are looking at, but you're right, they're absolutely easy fixes, and that's something that we can definitely take on board. And myself as a manager, I can be on top of that and certainly help with that and manage that better. I think we're going to put some more sort of structure in place about how the players and the staff come and engage, man of the match, things like that Danny's going to talk more about.
Yes, perhaps we need to work on our comms there. We do two man of the match presentations, one down by the Phoenix and then one up here. We've also got an autograph zone which will be increasing in size, which is in the sort of car park lobby between the offices and the Phoenix pub around that area, which had, I think on Saturday, about 150 predominantly children, but not exclusively children, and it's things like that we've introduced over the last couple of months, and we're all ears on ways that we can do that, along with what Johnny's just said there.
Okay. It is, you need to understand how this is so important. So important.
No, Craig, thank you. Genuinely, me and you and Dad have had loads of meetings about this now. We need to rectify it and how we do it, and there's plans in place for pre-season. There's a new structure in place where players are going to be targeted on what they do and made accountable for what they do in the community with the fans, and obviously with you guys, the good work you do at D-Lag.
Okay, I think the guy in the open shirt there, do you have a question? Yes. I think it is. If you can... Well, you go first to the back and then the guy in the open shirt, yeah?
Look, I understand all the limitations on the budget with the stadium. That's great. Problems with injuries, which I hope will get rectified when Craig's sorted out the sports science and everything else. But to paraphrase Johan Cruyff, I've never seen a bag of gold or money score a goal. So Johnny, as a young manager, get that into your head and get that into the players. So we've got a budget of whatever the hell it is, but we can always aim higher. So let's just get that attitude in all of us. And don't forget, I'm a new convert to Wimbledon, but if you think back to the 80s and everything else, that's what got this club where they are now. So just remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely take that on board, and we're all disappointed with how the season's turned out, but we're all dedicated to the cause that we give you guys, the heartbeat of the football club, the people that turn up every week on the road in their numbers, that come here and fill this place out, despite the results haven't been fantastic, and I know that there's been a lot of pain and suffering amongst you, well, an awful lot this season, and every single person up here, every single person at the back there that's part of our team are absolutely dedicated to giving you guys the team that you deserve, and we're really excited about the players that we've got going forward that hopefully we'll give you some real insight into tonight, and that hard work's already started. As soon as that final whistle goes at Grimsby, it will double down. We'll be working tirelessly in the summer to get it right, to learn the lessons of this season, to make all that hurt and suffering that you guys have gone through. Let's let it be for something, and really learn the lessons and move this club forward and get it where you guys deserve it to be.